You did not hit your limit. The critics who say otherwise are wrong. The vast majority of naturals on this planet are nowhere near reaching their limit. They haven't failed over and over again and gotten back up to overcome the odds, to be something great. They experienced a few plateaus, a few defeats here and there, and they never rose. They gave in, they threw in the towel, never unlocking what they were truly capable of. And these limiting beliefs instilled by these negative motherfuckers got to them. And next thing you know, you placebo yourself into believing that you have bad genetics. That the only way you can make more gains is by taking drugs. What a horrible message to send. Instead of empowering naturals, instead of telling them that you're capable of more, we feed them this garbage. That you can't be that strong, that you can't be that big. What a shame when you consider the fact that the vast majority of lifters are still novices. Why is that the case? Is it because there's a few select individuals that have good genetics and everybody else is just doomed to fail? Or maybe there's a lack of education. Maybe these individuals are not informed about what proper training and nutrition is. Maybe they've been training for 5 years and they plateau because they've been doing it wrong. It sounds so simple. It appears like it would be common sense, but when you look at it objectively, it cannot be. Mathematically, it doesn't add up that most recreational lifters are still novices. And these are the same people who are often critics or who say that you've hit your limit. Let me tell you something, guys. If you start doing things right and you don't give up, you will succeed in the end. And although you may not be the best of all time, you can be the best version of you, which is what the fuck it's all about. A lot of people are so caught up in comparing themselves to other men. This dick measuring ego contest. Get away from that. Unless you're a competitive athlete, in which in that case you're probably not a novice in the first place. Get away from all that ego garbage. Focus on yourself and know what the fuck you want and chase that. Develop an effective plan and target it. But these people who say that you hit your limit, that you hit your potential, that isn't true whatsoever. Even when we talk about those who are serious, those who are past the novice stage, it is certainly correct that after 1 to 2 years of lifting, once the linear gains have been milked, 80% or more of your natural size has been obtained. That's pretty common. You might gain your 20 pounds, and after that, it's like a grind. Each year, as a natural, the muscle gains become slower. And I would say after about 5 years, we're talking really slow gains. And if you look at the real naturals in YouTube Fitness, go back to some of their older segments, they don't look that much different. Because that's how it is for the most part. You make very small improvements. But that's the distinction, is it not? Small improvements does not mean no improvements. That's where people got it all fucking wrong. They believe that this is a genetic limitation, that it's fixed, they can no longer make progress. When in reality, there's still more to be made. It just takes a bit longer. I'll give you a great example. My man Toby Alder, I did an interview with him. He said it took him 2 years to go from a 385 bench to 405. 2 fucking years. That's 10 pounds a year. And guess what? Now it's even slower. So eventually it might become 5 pounds a year. And after that, maybe 2.5 pounds a year. But guess what? That's still progress. Add it up after 5 years, 10 years. What happens if you've been training seriously from, say, 17 years old to 35 years old? And you've been taking care of yourself, eating properly, being consistent, staying away from ego lifting, educating, doing things right. What happens when you're committed to the natural gain? You acquire a body that is sustainable. You acquire this physique that you can truly be proud of. Something that you don't have to inject to get. Something that you'll actually maintain. Natural muscle is something that you keep. It's easier to maintain drug muscle. The moment you get off, you lose everything. Or you'll revert back to a much smaller state. You may keep some of the gains. And obviously the nuclei in your muscle cells will remain. But it's not something that can be consistently maintained year-round. Unless you're constantly on that shit, and you will pay the price in the end. Whereas naturals, you peak later in life, not initially. It's not in your early 20s. It's maybe your late 20s, maybe your 30s. And then when your T levels start dropping, that's when you would see regression. But overall, you have a lot of potential, okay? And the only way you'll understand this is if you stay committed to the natural game and not be tempted to take the shortcut, to take the easy way out, just hopping on drugs, because that is short-term gratification bullshit, and you won't keep it. At the same time, I want you to realize that chances are there are still other muscle groups in your body that you haven't maxed out on yet, okay? Like maybe the neck muscles. How many people do you think have hit their genetic max on the neck? I would say zero. Realistically speaking, if I think about it, I don't think anybody's hit their genetic max on the neck. Really. And even if we talk about the elite level, like guys like Mike Machine Bruce, strongest neck in the world. He did a neck extension for 2 or 3 reps with 300 pounds, I believe, okay? Do you think that's his limit? I'm inclined to say no. So there are other areas that you probably didn't hit that hard, that they didn't give it your all, okay? What about the forearms? What about the calves? What about transitioning into a totally different sport? So maybe in bodybuilding for 5 years, and now you jump into powerlifting. Guess what? It's going to be like your noob again. You get new gains on that. Okay, you stall on powerlifting, you jump into strongman. Now you're doing the kegs, you're doing the logs, you're doing all these alternative pieces of equipment. Then maybe you get into unconventional lifts, which some is a part of strongman, right? So you get into those, and you're making new gains, right? That's growth. And I'll give you another example. Let's say you're really good at strength training. You're an ultimate beast. You're benching 405, but you're not gaining that much more size or strength. All right. Did you ever get into marathon running? It's something totally different. The endurance of the muscle, cardiovascular health. Ever got into that? I guarantee you that anyone who's proficient at strength training has not hit their limit in endurance stuff. What about boxing? What about MMA? What about jumping into a totally different sport that is skill-based? It's still about the body, is it not? That's what I'm saying. If you view fitness as this narrow little perspective of it has to be bodybuilding or powerlifting or strongman, if it's just these 3 little things or just aesthetics, especially if you're only basing off aesthetics, then you might have some problems, okay? Because yeah, it's going to take a while and you're not going to see like huge changes here and there. But if you broaden your horizons a little bit, you'll never get bored with the natural lifestyle. You'll learn to love it. You'll learn to appreciate different forms, okay? That's why I've always been a fan of general strength training, not putting labels on yourself. Because what happens when you escape these labels, something that you've identified for so long? You get ostracized, right? And also it's so weird to you. So I say, don't set labels and don't set limitations and experiment with different forms of exercise. On a final note, ask yourself the following question. Did you really give it your all when it comes to strength training or muscle building? Have you truly tried everything under the sun? Really, have you failed over and over again? You have to think about these things. I see some naturals who've been in this game for a long time, and they've done pretty much every program you could think of, literally. And they've read all the science books, all the nutrition books. I'm telling you, most people are nowhere near reaching their limit, and they haven't tried it all. There's always a new option for you to experiment with. And I'll say this, even if those programs aren't the best for you, even if you do fail a bunch of times, at least you fucking tried. At least you gave it your all and you don't have any regrets, okay? So when you've been training for all these years, it's like, yeah, I gave it my all. I did it. So ultimately, you have succeeded. You succeeded the mental game. You never have to wonder, what if? What if I would have done that program? What if I would have trained a different way? What if I would have educated myself? That's what it's all about. So that's all I have for today. Stay natural. Don't give up on the journey. And please do not resort to taking drugs. That's the wrong message to spread. And anyone who says that you've hit your potential, they don't know you. They don't know what you're capable of. Only you know what's possible. And you only figure that out with experience, with hard work, with truly giving it your all. So let's raise our heads up, stop making excuses, and make the best gains of our fucking life. Talk to you next time.